mountains and winding roads and such, so I've called the shipper for directions, and I've waited till it's daylight before going in there because I don't want to miss anything like overage signs or street signs, so I wait till the sun's up so I have better visibility. I'll stroll on in there, and I have a GPS, of course. Most everybody does anymore, but they're not 100% accurate. They're a tool, and you should treat them as such, not rely solely on them, because they do make mistakes. I had mine direct me into a residential zone in a town in Iowa one time, and I ended up doing a U-turn in a public school parking lot. So you don't want to do that, especially if you're in Pennsylvania, one of those narrow little back roads, because there aren't a whole lot of places to turn around. So I've done my due diligence here. I've got directions in. I've got the GPS running. We'll see if the GPS matches up to the directions. And I've waited for the sun to come up so I can see everything that I'm dealing with as I go in there. So this should work out fine. We'll see. Well, there's good news and bad news, sports fans. We made it into Ambridge, picked up the load, and everything went well. They're very nice people. The bad news is the load's going to Montreal. I hate going to Montreal. I always get lost there. I've been lost every time, I think, without fail. I've gone to Montreal. Even my GPS gets lost in Montreal. So, not looking forward to this. It's a city where they can take the same street and it can have 10 different names depending on what part of town it's in. So you can be on the right street and not even know it because it has a different name, for instance. Also, it's an old town, so it has narrow streets and low bridges. And generally you can't find anyone to give you directions because no one speaks English and I don't speak French. So I find it a tough town to get around. So just have to hold our breath, drive carefully, see how we make out, I guess. I don't ever understand the logic of having one province in Canada that has an entirely different language than the rest of Canada, but it wasn't up to me, so we just have to deal with it. And usually my dispatcher is sympathetic and manages to keep me out of there, but no such luck this trip, because I asked him if I could just drop to somewhere around Brockville or something like that and have one of the corridor guys take it in the rest of the way, but he says no, it's got to be. So sadly, we're going into Quebec. Let's cross our fingers and hope for the best and breathe a big sigh of relief when we're out of there. I just thought I'd share a pet peeve with you while I thought of it. I don't know how many of you run Canada ever, but buying fuel in Canada is a pain in the butt. There are a couple of the normal truck stops up there, like the Flying J and the TA, but they're few and far between. And for the most part, you've got to deal with card locks. And card locks are a pain in the tush. They're what they sound like they are. They rely totally on a credit card and a key number, a passcode number, before you can fuel. So you can be in, and they're unmanned for the most part. So you can be in the middle of nowhere, need fuel, find one of these card locks, swipe the card and find out your magnetic strip is shot, or there's something wrong with your computer, and you you don't get any fuel. And there's no one to complain to. No one can do anything. You're just out of luck. I think that's just an incredibly stupid system, but it's the Canadian way. Another thing I don't like about fueling in Canada is the fact that the government in Canada doesn't trust you to be smart enough to fuel both sides of your truck at the same time. They've got it set up so only the main pump will work or the satellite pump will work, but not both at the same time, because I guess they figure Canadian truck drivers are too stupid to watch both pumps at once. Drives me nuts. But Canada is a land of rules. I think Parliament, all they do sometimes is just sit up there in Ottawa and try to come up with more rules and new rules and different rules and lots of rules. It's part of the Canadian thing. I don't like it. That's the deal. Oh. And you know what else I don't like? Everything's in metric. Canada's biggest trading partner is the United States. And they're not in metric. So you'd think we would be on the same system as the United States. But no, that would just make too much sense to be on the same trading scale as your biggest trading partner. Why don't we come up with a whole different system that confuses everybody? It's the Canadian way. That's why. The fuel's in liters to Canada, not in gallons. The axle weights and the gross weight are in kilograms, not in pounds. And the speed limits are in kilometers per hour. Air pressure is in God knows what. You can't even tell how much air you're putting in your tires now in Canada. It drives me insane. I don't know why they ever went to a metric system there. I can't find a good thing to say about it. And did I mention the showers at the card lots? Most of them are downright disgusting. Trucking is a whole lot better in the States. Well, I stayed last night at the TA in Wheeling, West Virginia. Nice TA. I'd be hard pressed to tell you about a TA that it wasn't good. Look forward to going there. And my God, I got there at 3:30 in the afternoon, and I got one of the last spots there for parking. So by the time I'd gone in, had dinner, and come out again, the trucks were parked 3 deep against the curb in front of us on the exit side, just because they had nowhere else to land. By the time I got up this morning, I couldn't have left early if I'd wanted to, because there were so many trucks parked in there wasn't enough room to wiggle back out again. And you know, it's not the truck driver's fault. They've got to sleep. Everyone needs sleep. But it irks me that the government can come up with all these mandates and rules and hour of service and not provide you with the means by which to obey the law. They just say, well, here's the law. It's up to you to make it work. Good luck. And there's not nearly enough parking for trucks in the States or in Canada for us to safely stay at night. It's not even close to enough. And it drives me nuts that you know, some guys will just have to keep going at night because they can't find a place to land. trucking now is controlled by bureaucrats. Bureaucrats with absolutely no experience in trucking. And that's why they come out with these mandatory regulations that really have no common sense involved. Like, we'd all love to sleep for 10 hours a night. Think it's a good idea. But where do we park? And, you know, it's the same way they dealt with the 53-footers. Well, we're going to mandate these and make them legal, but we can't change the infrastructure, so good luck getting around the corners with it. And good luck getting into the facilities that were designed back in the 60s for 42-footers. It's just a whimsical regulation with not enough common sense. And this business of not having any place to park is falls in the same line. And trucking's like that on so many levels. It's controlled and dictated to by people with absolutely no practical experience in trucking. And that's a big mistake. And that's where so many of our problems lie. I'm up on Interstate 90 in New York State right now, and it's a beautiful piece of highway, it really is. You see lots of large trucks back and forth coming and going to Boston and New York and such, but this would be a much nicer piece of highway if they would get rid of these toll booths. I can't believe on a super highway like this you have to slow down to 5 miles an hour to go through a toll booth. I-294 in Illinois, you don't have that problem. It's a toll road. You can whip right through and never lose any speed